Good morning. Thank you all for being here this morning and welcome to Coffee Talk. I am Lisa Breunig, VP of Membership for NCJW STL, and my co-host is Susan Katzman, the immediate past president of NCJW. We began Coffee Talk as a way to engage our members and non-members at the height of the pandemic, when we couldn't be together in person, and even though we're out and about, we continue the show, and we are almost into 2 years on this program. So we are also only 1 month away, actually less than that, for Mother's Day. And Susan and I thought it would be nice for our audience to be walked through some delicious recipes to use for your Mother's Day brunch. Or you could give these recipes to someone else so they can prepare it for you. We welcome Companion Bakery to our Coffee Talk program. Companion is well known in the St. Louis community. Today, they share some of their recipes with us and the talents of their 2 staff. We won't see Donna Wolfsberger on camera, but we want to thank her for her help. We'll be working with Nancie Breunig, who is the Culture and Development Manager. She is a classically trained French baker who has been with Companion for 6 years. Nancie will demonstrate how to make an onion mushroom quiche, a peach raspberry torte, yogurt parfait, and a French toast casserole. Don't forget, at the end, we'll do a drawing for a $50 gift certificate or gift card for Companions, but you have to be on to get the gift card. So good morning, Nancie. Thank you for coming on Coffee Talk. Please share a little bit more about you with our audience, and then we'll move into your delicious Mother's Day brunch items. For everyone, feel free to put your questions in the chat, or you can save them for after the video, and you can ask Nancie yourself. And the recipes, they were given on the email yesterday along with the link for this Coffee Talk. So hi, Nancie. Thank you so much for being with us.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having us today. It's a real pleasure to be here. Companion's really excited to be here, and I'm really excited. We're really excited to be sharing some Mother's Day recipes. I'm a mom, and so I wanted to share some of my favorite recipes today. I've been with Companion almost 6 years now, but I've been baking my whole life, and I've been a classically trained chef for over 30 years. I went to the French Culinary in New York City, and that's where I trained, and I chefed in New York for a few years. I worked as a personal chef, and then I've worked anywhere from 5-star dining, and then, worked all over the country, and then wound up in the Midwest when I married my husband. And then we landed in St. Louis 16 years ago with his job. And here at Companion, for quite a few years, I managed the production floor. And so I've done everything in the bakery, from making every product and managing all of the production. And what I currently do is I manage people on projects. So anything to do with people, and anything to do with their development, and then any project work whatsoever. And so I do all sorts of different things here in the bakery, which is pretty darn exciting. I have like the greatest job, to be honest with you, in the company. It's a real joy to work here, to be honest.
Great.
Do you have any other questions about what I do here?
Not right now. Are we moving into the video? Do you want to do that? Okay. Or do you want to explain anything before she puts it up, or no? We'll just let it go. Okay.
Hi. One of the first things that we're going to make here is granola parfaits. And it's a really easy, super delicious dish. And you can make this with your kids. And it's super fun. And the best part of it is you want to make it with quality ingredients. So we're going to use really great fresh fruit. This yogurt here, I really like because it's super clean label. I buy it at Fresh Time. We're going to use companion granola. And you can use whatever kind of dish that you want. You can make it in like little cups. Or glass jars or whatever. I like little mason jars, and I like smaller dishes because I don't want to just eat yogurt when I have a buffet going on. I want to eat other dishes also. So I always put the yogurt in the bottom, and I use a vanilla yogurt because I want it to be nice and sweet, and the vanilla yogurt is going to complement the fruit, and it's going to complement the flavors of the granola. So you can fill it about a little over halfway full, and then put some of the granola down and kind of mash it in there and get some of the fruit in there from the granola, the big chunks and the fruit. You can use a spoon or you can use your hands, whichever you prefer. It's your family, however you feel about it. And you can make these up to 2 days in advance because you can put them in the fridge. And then whatever kind of fruits that you want to put in there and whatever's in season. I like to use blueberries, strawberries, and blackberries because those are my favorite fruits. And I think that they're really delicious and they hold up well in here. And then I slice the strawberries because I think they're really pretty like that in there. And then what's really nice when you use a mason jar, you have the lid here. And then you put the lid on there, push it down a bit, and then you can seal it, and it'll be really nice, and it looks so nice, and you can just put that in your refrigerator, and it'll hold up to a couple days in the fridge. Pull it out, and you can make it the day before, and it's really great to have for a buffet. Hi, so we're going to make baked French toast, which is a terrific Mother's Day dish. We're going to make it with companion brioche, which was one of my favorite breads, and we're going to use quality ingredients again. So we're going to use real butter, and butter's delicious, heavy cream, fresh eggs, and then we're also going to use Vietnamese cinnamon. You can buy this at Penzeys. It's one of my favorite spice shops, and that's where I buy a lot of my spices. And I think they're really terrific. So what we're going to do is we're going to cube the brioche, and we're going to use 2 loaves. And this comes in a 3-pack. You can get it at any of the local companion cafes. You can get it at the West Cafe or at the Ladue location. And so then you'll have a spare loaf, and you can make grilled cheese with those if you want to. So what you want to do is you want to cut like these little ends off because nobody wants to eat the end like that in your French toast. But they're good for snacking on. And so then we're going to cut these up and we're going to cube them. But before we cube them and put them into our pan, we're going to spray our pan. And I like to use a really nice glass pan. You can use whatever pan you prefer, but I really like using a glass pan. And I use like this size of glass pan here. It's perfect, I think. And now when we're putting our cubed bread in there, it's going to look like it's super full, almost like overflowing, and that's okay. It should look like that. So whatever pan that you use, it's going to be kind of heaping. And that's okay, because once we put our custard mixture on there, it's going to all soak up into this bread. This bread's really nice and porous, and it's the perfect bread for making French toast or a baked French toast. Or you can make it like into bread pudding, whatever you'd like. So I'm just going to cube this up. Be careful of where your fingers are at while you're using your knife. And get it all into your pan here. We want this to be nice big cubes, okay? You don't want it to be teeny tiny cubes while you're getting it in there, because then it gets really mushy, and that's not what you're looking for at all. So it already looks like it might be a little full in that pan, and that's okay. Because you'll be surprised once we make that custard, how much this bread is going to soak up that custard, and it'll be really nice. Now, when you're reading your recipe says that you're going to let this hang out in the fridge overnight, and that's what you really want to do. And that's the thing that's really great about this, is that if you're, especially like for Mother's Day, you want Mother's Day to be all about mom. So you can make this up the night before so that, you know, mom can sleep in, and then you can hang out and then throw it in the oven, and she can have breakfast in bed or whatever you want to do with her. And then it's all fun and exciting. I think one of my favorite Mother's Days, to be honest with you, was when my kids were really little and they said that they were going to make me a special Mother's Day breakfast. My husband travels with his job, and the kids told me, go back to bed. And so I did, and they made me a peanut butter and vanilla wafer sandwich with the crust. They use like the crust here, and it was the driest sandwich I've ever had my whole life. But, you know, it was made with so much love. And I just remember asking, can I please have a drink of water? Because it was so dry, but it was like the sweetest thing ever. And, you know, it's the most memorable Mother's Day ever. And the kitchen was kaboomed from that sandwich, but boy, it sure was nice, that's for sure. So anyway, let's get back to our recipe. So you'll see we're really full, okay? And that's okay, because we're going to make a custard, and it's going to soak up all of that bread. So now we've got that in there. You're going to use your silver bowl here, and you're going to crack your eggs. And you're going to get your eggs. Let me get our rubbish bin over here. We're going to get our eggs cracked in here. And we're using 4 eggs. Oh, Lord. No shells, not like what I just did. There we go. And then we are going to use a 1/2 cup of sugar. And then 2 cups of heavy cream. And 3 tablespoons of Vietnamese cinnamon. And this cinnamon really, it's a little expensive, and it's worth its weight. Okay, so you know, if you're gonna spend the money, buy the good cinnamon. The reason that you use Vietnamese cinnamon is because of the complex flavor of it, and it has a lot more depth than a lot of the other cinnamons. It's the quality of the Vietnamese cinnamon is superior to any other cinnamon out there on the market. And that's why I'm such a fan of it. So I just really encourage you to spend the additional money. When you go to Penzeys, there's going to be a myriad of different cinnamons available. And you can talk with them also about the different cinnamons. Like when you use like Mexican cinnamon, that's terrific for like hot chocolate, and it complements chocolate really well. But this is really terrific for what we're doing today. So now we're going to put in the heavy cream. And again, use heavy cream. Don't use whole milk. You'll taste the difference, okay? And this is for mom, you know, it's once a year. Go all out. Mom deserves a heavy cream, okay? Just like she deserves the butter, okay? She doesn't need margarine. There's my plug. All right, and so let me grab my whisk. We're going to get this nice and incorporated here. So it's just going to take a moment to get those eggs broken down, get it all nice and incorporated. Okay, so now we're going to incorporate our custard into what we've got going on here. So you can do it two different ways. You can put your bread into the bowl, okay, and you can stir the bread in, or you can get a little dirty, okay, whichever way you prefer. I get dirty, okay, because, you know, like, these are my best tools right here. They're my hands, okay, and I use my hands for everything that I do in the kitchen. I just take my rings off and I put them in a bowl so that I don't lose them, okay. So here, watch, kitchen magic right here. Pour it right into the bowl. And listen, if you cook, you know that you use your hands all the time. You know, when you're cutting up things or whatever, you just use your hands and they're going to get dirty. Okay, that's what soap and water is all about. And that's what you use your sink for. So now we've got this, and we're just going to use our hands and we're going to fold everything in. Okay, and you're going to get all of your bread incorporated into that custard. Okay. And that's the easiest way to get this all nice and soft, okay? And that way you also know that you didn't miss any pieces, okay? Get back in here. Now some people don't want to get their hands dirty, and that's cool. I don't mind. Nothing really bothers me in the kitchen. Okay? So now we've got everything incorporated, okay? And the last thing that we're going to do is we're going to make sure that it looks all pretty. Okay, and so then the last thing that we're going to do is we're going to add some butter. And remember I told you I'm a fan of butter. So we're going to cut up some butter and we're going to put butter on top here. We're going to use a whole stick. Butter's delicious. We're just going to cut some pats here. We're going to place it around the bread, or around the French toast here. Because when it bakes, it's going to melt and it's going to caramelize. And it's going to make it really super delicious with the sugar and the cinnamon on there. And it makes it really super yummy. So what we're going to do here is once we're finished with this, we are going to take this and we're going to wrap it with foil and we're going to put it in the fridge and we're going to let it rest overnight. And then tomorrow we'll pull it on out and we're going to bake it in an oven at 350 degrees for about 45 minutes to an hour. And when you pull it out, if you notice that you don't have a whole lot of custard down here on the bottom of your pan, you can see here how we've got some custard down there. If you don't have a whole lot of custard, grab your heavy cream because you still have some here. Just pour some, drizzle some across the top, put your foil back on, and then put it in your oven, okay? And then just cook it, and you're going to bake it till it's set, okay? And what I mean till it's set, until it's not jiggly, okay? And then you're going to pull it out, and if you've made French toast before, you know what cooked French toast looks like, and that's just what this is going to look like. Your butter is going to be all crackly on top, and you're going to pull it out, and it's going to look really yummy, and you're going to be really excited, and get your syrup out, and then it's going to be time to have breakfast, okay? So this is our baked French toast that came out of the cooler, out of the refrigerator, and so we're going to put it into the oven, and we're going to bake it for 45 minutes to an hour.
And then when it comes out, it'll be really delicious. I'm going to leave the foil on for the first 30 minutes. And then after that first 30 minutes, I'll take the foil off. Hi, so our baked French toast is ready to come out of the oven. And this is what we want it to look like. Nice and gooey and delicious. Hi. So while we're making a quiche, we're also going to make a rustic tart because we've already made pie crust once. So if you make it once, you can make it twice. Easy peasy, right? So if you roll out one crust, roll out a second one. It's super easy. So I rolled out a second crust here, and this is the type of pan that I like to use. I use a French pan just because it's the easiest thing in the world for me to use. And that way, no matter where you roll, you get the best pressure. And so you can use your hands wherever when you're rolling on here, and you get the best type of pressure, and you can evenly distribute your weight wherever you are, and then you just roll your crust however you want. You're the boss of that crust, okay? And you show it who the boss is, and it's always me. That's how I feel about it. So we're going to make this super easy tart, and everybody's going to be really impressed, and they're going to think you are so cool. You aren't going to believe it. So we're going to cut up 3 peaches, leave the skin on, okay? And cut them thick, okay? Because that way they taste good, okay? And then I'll pull that pit right out. It's going to be super rustic, and that's what's really great about it. It's really, really super easy, and you can use whatever fruit that you want to use. I like peaches and raspberries together because I think that they really complement each other, and I think that they're really pretty together. You can use blackberries, you can use whatever you want. You can make this tart with apples, whatever floats your boat, whatever you're feeling. And then just show the fruit, you know, what's going on. And just cut it up. And it's rustic, you know, so when they call it rustic, it doesn't have to be perfect. That's what's nice about it, right? It doesn't have to be all fancy schmancy. And that's what I like too, that not everything has to be so fancy all the time. And this is something really nice to make again with your kids and get them involved with it, okay? This is just 1 tin of raspberries, like 1 little packet. Dump them in there. I'm going to do half a lemon. Get some lemon juice in there. And then we need a tablespoon of flour. and a half a cup of sugar. So you're going to gently fold all of this, and you don't want to overfold this, okay? Because if you overfold this, you'll damage your raspberries. And raspberries are really gentle, right? So you don't want to be all aggressive in there and just, be super aggressive, but just gently fold. And you just want to make sure that everything's coated with the flour and the sugar. Okay, and the reason that you want everything to be coated with the flour and the sugar is because the flour is going to help seal in the juices so that you don't have a gigantic mess, okay? So we're going to move our pan out of the way. We're going to scooch all of this. We're going to put our fruit right here in the center of our rolled out crust, okay? And it doesn't have to be a perfect circle how we rolled out our crust. But just keep in mind that how you place your fruit is how it's going to look when it's finished baking. So make sure that however you get this, that some of the raspberries end up on top and some of the peaches are placed really prettily. Okay? Okay, and this is rustic, okay? So now we're just going to fold. We're folding this all in. And that's how you're holding your tart together. Okay? So now we're going to do a couple of things. We're going to grab these two bowls because we're going to separate our white and our yolk because we're going to keep that yolk. We're going to do a little egg wash, and I want to keep the yolk for the wash, and I'm going to put a little bit of yolk and a little, so I've got my yolk here. And I'm going to put one little, just a glug. Okay, that was a technical term of heavy cream. And I'm going to whisk it together. And see how this is a beautiful lemon color? And that's the color you're looking for. Whenever you make an egg wash, it's a beautiful lemon color. Okay? And remember before how I said your hands are your best kitchen tools? They are. We're going to use them yet again. Okay? Now you can use a pastry brush if you want. But again, this is a rustic tart. So we're making a nice rustic tart. And we're just getting the edges of this tart with our egg wash. Okay, we're going to put that to the side. going to give my fingers a quick little rinse. And we're going to use this turbinado sugar, and we're going to go all around the edges. Okay. Boom. And we're going to go in the oven. We're going to bake this at 350 for 45 minutes to an hour. You're going to take your little knife that you cut your peaches with, and you're going to stick a peach in 45 minutes and see if it's done. If it's done, pull it on out. Okay, if it's not done, let it cook a little bit more. Easy peasy. So this is the finished product, and this is our tart. Once it's come out of the oven and it's cooled, I plated it up and we're ready to serve. You can make some fresh cream if you want to put on the side of it, or just eat it like this. Okay, it's really tasty, and it's really something nice that you can whip up any old time. All right, so our delicious tart is coming out of the oven. Okay, and you can see how beautiful it is, and it's nice and bubbly and full of love. Okay, and you can serve that right away, or you can let it cool just a little bit, make some fresh cream to serve with it, and it's a great dish. Hi, we're going to make a Gruyere mushroom and onion quiche today. And so what we're going to do is we're going to prep our vegetables and prep everything up, and then we're going to saute. And you can roll out a pie crust if you'd like. You can buy a pie crust, whichever floats your boat, whatever is easiest for you. And so, but you want to make sure that you pre-bake it. So blind bake it. And what I mean by blind baking it is spray your pan, put your crust in there, poke holes in it with a fork, and then I put some parchment paper in here, and I put some dry beans in there, and that holds it down and weights it so that you don't get like all those wonky bubbles in there, because if you don't weight it down, then you know, like it's all like, and you don't want that, right? So now it's nice and smooth, and then it'll be really pretty. Okay, and you can reuse those beans over and over; they'll never go bad. And then just store them in an airtight container, and they'll never mold or anything like that. So what we're going to do is get everything ready. So we're going to use Gruyere today, and I bought boar's head, and I bought it at Fresh Time, and I sliced up an onion. I use a white onion, and then I got these really nice mushrooms at Fresh Time, and they're nice organic mushrooms. And you know, spend the money and buy organic mushrooms, because otherwise you don't know what you're getting. Okay, and it's super important to really pay attention to that. And we'll just leave that at that. Okay, so we've got all of this put together, and then so I've got all of my vegetables cut up, and I grated my cheese, and so then we're going to make our little egg custard, and then we'll saute off our vegetables. Okay. So we're going to make our egg base. So we're going to put 4 eggs in here. Be mindful not to get any shell in there. Nobody wants to eat shell. Especially mom. This is all about mom, remember.
We're taking a pause for a second because our sound is not good. But I don't know if Susan, you want to take some questions while we're trying to fix it. I apologize.
Well, why don't we take the first question? Nancy, we had a question about that Vietnamese cinnamon that I was asking you about. Is that what people can use for everyday use?
You're on mute, Nancy.
Sorry. There you go. There's a variety of different cinnamons that you can use, and it really depends on what you're making. So if you're baking with fruit, you can use Mexican cinnamon. That's really delicious with like apples. What I really like about Vietnamese cinnamon is it's really smooth and the edges are soft. And so like when you're baking with it, like some cinnamon is really sharp, and Vietnamese is really smooth and it bakes really nice, and it never has that sharp edge to it, and it's so lovely, and it just is so nice and smooth, and it never has a sharp finish on your palate, and that's what's so nice about it. And so it's worth spending the money that you never have a sharp finish with it. Like when you're making like apple pie or something like that, apple is really acidic, and so if you have a sharp cinnamon with that acidic apple, they complement each other really well. It's really nice. They go well together. So and you can always talk with them at Penzies. I bake a ton, so I have multiple different cinnamons in my I have multiple different cinnamons in my kitchen. I have a lot of, I have 2 different types of vanillas in my kitchen because I bake just about every day. If you don't want to have different vanillas, or if you don't want to have different cinnamons, I would just have Vietnamese cinnamon, because I think it's the best, and I think the quality is the best, rather than having multiple different, because I don't like something that finishes sharp ever. Just because I think that it's not nice. And I don't think like the quality is as good, if that makes sense.
So before we go to Darian's question about peaches, what are the 2 kinds of vanilla?
There's a lot of different vanillas actually. But the best vanilla that you can buy is vanilla from Thailand. And it's really expensive and it's really good. And there's pure vanilla, there's diluted vanilla, there's extract, there's all sorts of different vanilla. But Thai vanilla is really fantastic. You can use vanilla bean, you can scrape it, all sorts of different things.
So just a word of advice for everybody on the screen. If you can't afford to buy Thailand vanilla,
I would go to Penzies and I would buy vanilla extract at Penzies. And I would I would not buy grocery store vanilla. and because you get what you pay for, and a lot of time, like grocery store vanilla is really old vanilla, and you can taste it.
Okay. One other quick question, then we're going to go back to the video. Please bear with us with the video. The sound may not be much better, but hopefully we can get enough of what Nancie's trying to tell us with following the recipe. Darian asks, where in the Midwest these days can you get fresh peaches?
You can get them at Fresh Time. And anytime, the reason why I buy produce at Fresh Time is because before you ever buy anything, anybody who's working there, you can say to them, hey, can I taste this? And they will cut open any produce before you ever buy it and let you try it. And if you don't like it, you don't buy it. And their customer service is just fantastic. And that's why I buy my produce from them. And so, you know, if they have peaches or plums or anything like that, and I want to make a tart or a pie or jam or anything like that, I'll see it and I'll say, you know, can I try this? And they'll whip open a pocket knife, cut it open and let me try it. And then I'll decide if I want to buy it or not. And then, you know, that's worth a whole lot to me. Cause you know, I buy produce a lot and that's really fantastic. And they'll bring stuff in for you. If there's something in particular that you're looking for, you can let them know and they'll tell you, you know, like, hey, I can get this, or hey, I can't get that. It'll be a few days and they'll give you a call and they'll let you know when it's in. They're really terrific.
Okay, thank you so much. That's good to know. Okay, Brooke, let's go back and finish up that mushroom onion Gruyere quiche.
And we're going to put a cup of whole milk in here, okay? And then we're going to put our seasonings, okay? And we're going to put salt to taste. And we're going to put pepper to taste, okay? And I use black pepper, coarse ground, because I think it tastes better than like fine ground pepper. It's all about what you like and what your family likes. And then we're going to do a 1/4 teaspoon of dry ground mustard. It really enhances the flavor of the quiche and it brings out those really delicious flavors. And again, I bought this at Penzeys because I think that Penzeys has really good quality spices. You can buy this at the grocery store if you'd like. Whatever you want to do, okay? And then grab your whisk. And incorporate your eggs. Break your yolks up. Don't be too aggressive. You don't want to get too much air into here, okay? Be nice and gentle, okay? Now, once we have all of this done, what we're going to do is our next step is we are going to saute off our vegetables, okay? So it's time to saute. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn our flame on, and we're not going to be like super aggressive and have it wide open, okay? Because you don't want to burn your vegetables, okay? We're going to use olive oil. Get a little bit into your pan. Make sure your pan is nice and coated. We're going to do onions first. We're going to break them up in the pan. We're going to salt and pepper the onions also, okay? because everything tastes better when you season it. Okay, and always season while you're cooking. Don't wait until the end to season anything, okay? That's a really big mistake, and then it's really sad, all right? And then your food is sad. So we're gonna cook these onions down. We're gonna get them so that they're a really nice caramelized color, and that's when they're gonna be really nice and delicious. And that onion is gonna really bring out a really nice flavor because we have some olive oil in there. And olive oil and onions are really good friends. So once these onions are nice and caramelized, we'll transfer to a bowl, and then we're going to move the mushrooms over, and we're going to cook them in the same pan, and then we'll marry the two together and finish them off. So this is the color that we want the onions to get to. So they're a really nice golden color. And so we're going to finish them off. Shut your burner off, and you can slide them right there into our little pan. And so now we're going to turn our stove back on, put a little more olive oil in there, and we're going to cook our mushrooms. These mushrooms are going to go really fast because the pan's really hot. And we want these mushrooms to just start sweating out their water. That's the most important part of it. And again, what are we going to do? We're going to salt and pepper them, okay? Because we always season our food while we're cooking it. And then once the water starts seeping out, we're going to add the onions back in here. We'll marry them together. And then we'll be all done cooking our vegetables. Then it'll be time to assemble the quiche. And it'll be showtime. We can put everything in the oven. And then it'll be time to bake everything off, okay? So you can see that it's already starting to break down. The water's starting to seep out of there. We're going to put our onions back in here. This is super nice. And we're ready to go. All right, so now it's time for us to assemble. So we've got our baked off crust. Okay, so now it's time to make our quiche. So we're gonna do 2/3 of a cup of cheese. And listen, I go a little heavier on the 2/3 of a cup. So I do like 2 heap and thirds because I think cheese is delicious. Who am I kidding? So put a little extra in there. It's for mom, right? Okay, and we're gonna spread it out on the bottom. And make sure that you finely shred this, okay? You can buy it shredded, I believe. I just used a shredder and shredded it myself because it was super easy to do. And then you're going to put your sauteed mushrooms and onions on top. And spread it out so that it looks really nice, okay? Don't make it look sloppy, okay? Take some time and put some effort into it, okay? And then we're going to put our egg custard on top of here and pour it really nicely in here as well. And make sure that you scrape your bowl because your seasonings are in there as well, and they might have settled from you last time you whisked it, okay? And get everything in there. And then we're going to bake it in the oven, okay? And we're going to bake this at 350, okay? And you're going to bake it until it's just set. So it depends on your oven. It may go faster than my oven, okay? So my oven is kind of a slower oven. Maybe I need to get it recalibrated. Maybe your oven's just right on, okay? And when I say when it's just set, that means when you tap the side of it, it doesn't jiggle in the middle, okay? Because the worst thing you can do to a quiche is to over bake it, okay? Then your eggs are rubbery and that's kind of yucky, okay? So we just want to bake it until it's just set. You don't want the eggs to get all brown and yucky on the top, okay? And so you just want to take your time with it, okay? And show your love, okay? Because the most important ingredient in everything that we made today was love. And that's what we put into every single dish that we made was love. Because this is all about Mother's Day and Mom, okay? So we're going to put this in the oven. We're going to bake it off. And then it's going to come out and it's going to be delicious. We'll sit down to our table and have brunch. So here's our quiche out of the oven, okay? And it's ready to be served. You can serve it with your tart. You can serve it with some salad on the side, however you want. And just slice it up and it's ready to go. It's super delicious. This egg base, you can change it up however you'd like. Keep the cheese the same and you can change your vegetables. You could put some meat in there if you wanted to. I really like keeping it vegetarian because I think it's just really nice and lovely and light. So I hope you enjoy everything that we made today. It was super easy and fun and great stuff for Mother's Day. Thank you so much.
Okay, well, Brooke, thank you for getting the sound straightened out. That really helped us. We have time for a couple more questions. So I'm going to the chat here. One of them said the recipe for the rustic tart said to bake it at 375, but I think I heard you, Nancie, say 350. Which is it?
If you're in a convection, I was in a convection oven at work, so it was 350 in a convection, 375 if you're in a regular oven.
So a convection oven is always
25 degrees lower.
All right, there's an answer to your question, Darian. Okay,
Yeah,
we have another one.
And the convection oven question, I just answered also.
Okay, thank you. And Michelle asked, if you buy the brioche bread from Companion, do you need to make the French toast that day, or can you refrigerate and freeze the bread?
You can refrigerate and you can freeze it. And it is good for like 6 months in the freezer. All the bread that we make here at Companion is preservative and chemical free. So, it's like what you would make at home. So we will mold after like 5 to 7 days. So if you're not going to use it in the next, week or so, I'd throw it in the freezer.
Okay, thank you. And we had a question from Susan Whitty. In the last recipe, can you use 2% milk instead of whole milk?
For the quiche? I've never made a quiche with 2% milk. I'm sure that you could. I just have never made quiche with 2% milk. I think that you would probably, you need the fat in the milk. You need the fat in the milk to really help the eggs coagulate. And so I would probably add an extra egg and I'd back out a little bit of milk because otherwise it's going to take longer to cook. So it'll take longer to bake. So maybe add an extra yolk in there because you really need that fat in there. Okay, so I mean it's kind of a balance, right?
Okay, well that's
but
good
you
to
can,
know.
I mean, I'm sure you can look on the internet and find a recipe for something with 2%.
How about anybody on the screen or with us here? Gail Darshall wants to know, is it really worth it, $15 a pineapple, which is what Fresh Thyme charges?
I've never bought a $15 pineapple, so I couldn't tell you. Yeah, I mean, I've never bought a $15 pineapple ever from anybody. But I have bought a lot of their fruit and a lot of their vegetables. And I think that, and their produce is fantastic. And it really lasts a whole lot longer than other produce. And it's really been worth what I've paid for it. And the quality's really been terrific. And, you know, at the end of the day, for me, it's about the quality. So it's worth spending a couple extra bucks. Do my kids cook? Was a question that just popped up on there. Absolutely. My kids do cook. They started cooking when they were little, and they've taught their friends how to cook. And I have to tell you, you know, like sometimes I'll wake up in the morning and the kitchen's kind of kaboomed. And, but it does make me happy because, you know, like my kids know how to make Alfredo in the pan, and, you know, like they don't make stuff out of a jar or anything like that. They can scratch cook anything, and they're confident, and it doesn't, you know, if they're hungry for something, they'll go to the store and they'll buy whatever ingredients they want and they'll whip it up. Their friends will say, hey, let's have this. And they'll be like, cool. And they'll go buy all the ingredients and they'll make a meal for their friends, and they're teenagers. And I think that that's terrific. So yeah, they do cook.
That's great. Thank you. You know, I think if anything you've taught us today or tried to instill in us, it's the concept of using good quality items. I have one last quick question before we get to our drawing. The other thing, Phyllis wants to know if a tart is the same as a galette.
Yes. Yeah, they're very similar. They're like first cousins.
Okay, thank you. And I guess another real quick question from Ellen. If you use fresh spinach, that usually brings more water. What do you do about that in a recipe?
So, like, are you using fresh spinach in what? In your quiche?
In a quiche, yeah.
Okay, so what I would do is I would not throw the spinach right into the quiche raw. I would saute it off. I'd throw it into a cheesecloth and I would wring it really well, and I would get as much liquid out of it as possible. And then if you want to leave the leaves really big, then you can like pull it out and fluff your leaves back up, and then it'll be really pretty, and you can arrange it in there. It'll look really nice. Or you can chiffonade it. You know what I mean by that? You can like make it, you know, like chop it up so it looks really pretty. But if you want your leaves to look like big spinachy leaves, once you've wrung it out, you can kind of fluff them back up, and then it looks like big fresh leaves of spinach, but you've got all that liquid out of there. It's just kind of labor intense, but I would always cook it off, because otherwise you're going to have a lot of water in there. You'll have to add a fair amount of flour to compensate for that. And depending on how much spinach you use, like if you use a cup of spinach, you'll have to use at least 4 tablespoons of flour. And then you really have to whisk vigorously to make sure that there's no clumps whatsoever, because otherwise it really clumps.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. This has been a great hour. Again, we apologize for the glitches. We can't afford the most sophisticated editing equipment, so kind of have to go with what we can do. So we appreciate your indulgence, and we thank Brooke for all of her editing. Nancie, we want to thank you so much, and Donna Wolfersberger, who worked with you on this, and of course the Allen family, the owners of Companion, for doing the program with us today, and for the $50 gift certificate, which we're about to do a draw on, to say thank you. we are going to sponsor a child for back to school store, which we will do on July 31st, where we outfit 2,000 young people to go back to school, but in your honor. So we really appreciate very much what Companion has done today and with us. Okay, it's time for our drawing for our raffle. And let me stir things up. All right. So the $50 gift certificate to Companion goes to Eunice Reichman. Eunice will be mailing that. We'll be mailing that to you. Thank you.
Congratulations, Eunice.
That's great. So our next coffee talk is May 24th. And hopefully we'll be seeing a lot of you on this screen at Sisters Act next week, April 27th, at the Ritz-Carlton, where we'll be bringing Kathy Najimy for everybody to hear, and certainly for NCJW to celebrate finally our 125th anniversary. Thank you so much for being with us. We will resend the recipes so that everybody has them. And we appreciate all of you. Stay well, stay healthy, laugh. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Nancy and Donna.